All right, I think we're live and ready to start. Hi, guys. Hello. Let me know in the chat if you can see and hear me well. Also, let us know where you guys are checking in from. We love to see where you're located. So write down your country, your city. It's always interesting to hear from the different parts of the world. All right? Okay. Hello. Oh, I can already see some views. And okay, we're gonna wait a little bit. Oh, 12 views already. Hi, guys. And just write down in the chat how you are. Put an emoji. Just let me know if you can hear me well. Okay, hi, Mohammed. Hi, Elena. Hi, Augustinus. I hope I pronounce your name right. Hi, guys. Okay, Spain, Colombia. Hi there. Hello from Dubai. Oh my God. I bet it's really sunny and warm there. Okay. Great. So, hi, my name is Nastya. I'm the content manager at Tilda. And today I'm excited to host a very special webinar because we have a guest speaker, Tina Lopez. And I'm going to add Tina here. Hi, Tina.
Hi.
Tina is an online coach and content creator who helps other people scale their content, grow their business through content marketing, and so much more. And today we're going to talk about, basically all things content related. How to use content marketing to grow your business, how to grow your email list, how to stay consistent with your content. And I think it's especially relevant today because we have so many platforms you have to be on. And if you're running a business or if you promote your personal brand online, unless you have a big team of content creators, it's getting harder and harder to be everywhere, to do short videos, write text, write blog posts, update your website, do design, etc. And honestly, I think Tina is the go-to expert when it comes to things like that, because she is helping creators to overcome burnout, to automate the content. And I think we'll have a really exciting conversation today. Okay, so let me do a quick overview of today's webinar. First of all, Tina will do a little introduction about herself and her work. And then we're going to have a Q&A session. And if you have any questions you might want to ask, please feel free to write them in the chat and we will ask them later. Okay, and finally, I will show you a short demonstration on what Tilda features you can use to follow Tina's advice and make your life as a content creator easier. And if you're new here and haven't tried Tilda yet, Tilda is a website builder that allows you to build amazing websites without any code. And we have over 500 pre-designed blocks that you can use to craft your own website. And all of the blocks were designed by professional team of designers. So you don't have to be a web designer or you don't have to hire anyone to create a website for you. You can use our website builder. And Tilda has free 1 month trial where you can test all its main features. And for a webinar audience, we have a very special gift because if you subscribe for the webinar newsletter, you will receive a 3 months of Tilda personal plan and completely for free. And you can test all its features and create your own website. Okay, so we are ready to start. And so basically, I'm really curious, Tina. Please tell us more about yourself and your project, how you become who you are now, and like what shaped you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi everyone. I'm super excited to hop on today's call. If anyone's from Content Creators Club, please also put in the chat. I'd love to see and, talk to you guys further. But we're going to have a Q&A. So, a little bit about me. Again, my name is Tina. So, I help content creators scale their content impact and income through affiliate marketing, email marketing, and no-code automation. And before I kind of just go into the nitty-gritty details of everything we're going to talk about today, I want to give you the backstory of how it all started. So moving on to the next slide. I really need to give you guys a little bit of context on where this all started. So I think the best way for me to share with you guys a little bit about my journey of how I got here is kind of share you the story. So from the beginning, I always joke with my friends and family and I say like I came out the womb and I was like I want to be an entrepreneur. But in all seriousness, like the way that started was I've always from a very young age kind of had this feeling where it's like I want to do something better on this earth rather than the traditional 9 to 5. And my father, he came here with nothing. He had his own business. He was the first one to graduate college. And I've just taken a lot from learning from him and just seeing how much business can change people's lives. And so really like I had multiple businesses throughout my childhood and also even college, but during that time in college I was actually an online coach. So I used to help online coaches build their business, and coaching was really fun. It was really great for me to actually engage, see results, see clients make money for the first time ever in their business and be able to help them. But I have to be honest, like there's two sides of the same coin. There's one side where everything is great. Like I love what I do. I love helping people. But there's this other side where there's this very real situation that happens with coaching is that there's a layer of burnout that ends up happening where you're doing sales calls, you're doing coaching calls. And although I love giving impact on a one-to-one setting, personally and energetically, I couldn't do that. And that's when everything changed for me in my business, because there's a point where I actually had major burnout. It was interesting because I made the most amount of money I have ever had in my business and ever in general within 1 month and within one period of time. And they call it a money hangover, and I do think it's really true. But in a nutshell, it's basically like when you make so much money and
Okay, Tina, hi.
push.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is it pushed to the point of burnout. And then I realized to myself, I was like, we need to do something different. We need to be able to still have a business, provide impact at scale, but have a free calendar. And that's when I pivoted to content creation. Now, a lot of you who are probably hopping on this, live webinar, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, content creation, like that also requires a level of work when it comes to being on social media, posting to all these different platforms. And so this is where we kind of get into the definition of a leverage creator, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But I decided to create a fully automated content business that thrives on passive income, doesn't have any team members, and truly has no sales calls or any kind of one-to-one setting. And the reason why I did that is because I think it's important to really think about lifestyle. You want to leverage your time in your business. And so I really set out to do that. I didn't see anyone who was doing this, and I just thought to myself, let me figure it out. It took me 2 years to figure it out, and I'm about to teach you it within like this next hour. But I can truly say leverage is the one thing that I would say is game changer in my business. So let's kind of move in and to talk a little bit about the next section of the pillars that we talk about when it comes to content business. So there's really three pillars that I like to think about this. There is content, where you actually have your content pieces, where you're going on social media, you're doing all these things. But then there's this other layer of nurture, right? Think of nurture as warming your audience. You're talking to people, you're either commenting, you're creating community, those types of things. But then there's conversions, right? Like if you are a content creator, majority of the time you're building an audience to do something, to have a call to action. It could be a call to action to an affiliate product, to your business, your digital product, your email list, whatever that may be. When you have this content business, you need these three things in order to happen. But the challenge that you might be facing is that you're one single individual. So moving on to the next slide, there is that challenge that I set out to really accomplish. Well, I thought to myself, how can I do all these three pieces, but in an automated way, right? I want to automate my content, automate my, nurture and being able to create communities and those conversations, and then really talk about automating conversions, right? So let's go ahead and focus on the next slide, talking about automating content, right? So when we think about content, we mentioned this earlier about, being on social media. You have to be on Instagram Reels, TikTok, Facebook, Medium, YouTube, all these things. Well, that doesn't fly with me personally. I'm one human being. I cannot be everywhere at once because it doesn't work, right? And a lot of people think to themselves like, oh, like I just need to be more consistent. And I don't think consistency is always the answer. I think there's probably the answer of finding a better way to be consistent. And we're going to talk about what that looks like in a second. But what that looks like for me is creating content once. Instead of you being able to create content on all these different platforms, I would recommend that you actually create content once on one single platform, and let that be a long form content piece platform, right? And so play to your strengths. For me, it's writing. I love to write. I'm also trying to get into YouTube, as we see here. But when we think about long form content piece, if we were to focus all our efforts on that one specific area, then we could do the next step of automating your content repurposing, right? Because when we think about being everywhere, it's not necessarily meaning that you need to create content from scratch and create new content ideas for all these different types of platforms. Like, let's not do that. Let's take our long form piece of content and let's automate it through content repurposing. An example of this is I have my daily content generator. It's an automation and workflow that I've created in my business, but basically it takes content repurpose. So I highly encourage for you to consider implementing that in your own business. Now, moving on to the second piece of automated nurture. So automated nurture really comes down to two areas, right? So when I think about nurture, there's one area where you actually need to have an audience, right? And so a lot of people think to themselves, audience needs to be on social media. And I personally disagree. And it's ironic that I'm a content creator and I don't spend a ton of time on social media, but there's a reason behind that. The reason behind that is because social media is really meant to build your brand. But if you want to build your income, I would 100% recommend that you build your email list or your own audience. And I'd like to give a little bit of a story on how important that is. So when we think about what ended up happening, so last year, one of my social media platforms, they contacted me and said, hey, like, there's some error that's coming up. We might ban your account. And that was very alarming for me. Obviously, I didn't do anything wrong, and we've ended up fixing the situation. But what I realized in that situation was like, oh, dang, like if they, shut my social media account, then I lose access to my audience. I lose the traffic strategy that I've been able to, drive towards my products and my affiliate products and all those things. So basically my income can be shut down overnight just by a simple decision. And if that person who was great customer service did not listen to me, then I would be in a very difficult position, right? And so that's when I really thought to myself, like, okay, we need to pump the brakes on social media. How can I build my own audience without social media? And so that comes in the form of the email list. Now, the other layer of automating your nurture, right? So we drive all our traffic to our email list. When we're thinking about, nurture, I actually like to think of email automations or RSS feeds, right? So let's just talk about what email automations would look like. But essentially, when we're thinking about nurture, we basically think of that as a way to continue the conversation, right? So when I'm thinking of continuing the conversation, hey, a person joins my email list. How can I give value to them? Well, maybe I can give value to them by giving them a freebie or giving them, access to a product that it's normally paid, on the front end, but giving it to my audience for free as a way to say thank you. And by the way, we do that in my newsletter. But that is all automated, right? I just sat down, wrote an email sequence, and put it in an email automation process. And when a person joins my list, I can make sure that I'm keeping them engaged. I'm keeping them, on the radar of like, oh, what's Tina posting today? Like, oh, like I'm curious on what's going on in Tina's life, those types of things. And that's the relationship that you want to create with your audience, right? And another layer of this that I also talk a lot about is an automated newsletter, and that's in the form of RSS feeds. And so that's just something where there's another layer for you to continue that engagement. Now, let's talk a little bit about automated conversions, right? For me, some of my non-negotiables is I don't want to do sales calls. So that definitely limits the amount of ways that I can make money, right? And so when I think about high leverage ways to make money, I'm thinking about digital products or affiliate marketing, right? And so when we think about automated conversions, well, if we take that pre-step of automating our nurture sequence and all those things, then what we can do is we can decide to give them an invitation, our audience an invitation where it's like, hey, I know you've been receiving these emails for, the past couple days. Wouldn't it be worthwhile for you to actually take it a step further? And I can help you do that through one of my courses, right? And so, I'm building that, funnel. I'm building that email chain where a person can either recommend to go and buy one of my digital products, or if I don't have a product to sell, and if you don't have a product to sell, I'm surprised not a lot of people still there? Okay, cool. So when we, I know this is happening, but anyways, when we leverage affiliate marketing, it's a way for us to automate our, personal selling in terms of taking it a step further and using those channels. So those are the three pieces that I wanted to touch on.
All right. Thank you so much for this intro. Yeah, that was really interesting. If you guys have any questions, remember to put them down in the chat and we will ask them later on. So moving on to the Q&A. So one of the main problems online creator face, especially those who don't have social media marketing background or marketing background, is how to discover a sustainable source for content creation and stay consistent. So what would be your advice, Tina?
Yeah. So there's kind of like two parts to that, right? Sustainable source of content creation comes through the form of ideation, right? And so when I think about creating that sustainable source, I think a lot of people like to think to themselves, well, how can I actually create ideas? And there's different methodologies. There's a methodology where you sit down and create, 10 headlines or 10 ideas a day. But I actually like to use kind of the silent observer of my life as a situation, right? So take those situations where either you're having a conversation with your spouse or you're at work or you're maybe watching a YouTube video, right? And like there's definitely like really think about it of like, okay, I'm watching this, I'm seeing how my life is playing out. Is there any way I can leverage that as content creation, right? One of the things that I do is when I'm having conversations with people, I actually like to reflect on the conversations that I have with people where if I was talking with someone and they had a problem that they were facing, maybe that's a source of content creation where I can actually take that idea and I can turn it into an email list or I can turn it into a blog article. Because if that person brought that up to me, then I'm pretty sure there's someone on the internet who has a similar situation, right? And so when we think about kind of like what that looks like in practice, because I think tactical information is just as important. What that looks like for me is I actually have, a simple like Airtable form or simple Airtable database on my phone. It's an app. I highly recommend you check it out. But basically, I just, go ahead and like if an idea pops to me, like I have a conversation with someone, I'll step away for a second and I'll just quickly write a bunch of ideas down and I'll leave it there, right? And I just think it's really important for you to leave it there for you to reference later. Now, a lot of people will say, like, oh, like, get an idea, act on it. Well, I don't necessarily think that's a great idea either, right? Because sometimes, you need to really mull on the idea before it actually comes into fruition, right? And so, what I do on a month by month basis is like I'll have, a whole month of just content ideas where I thought about, and I'll create like a little bit of library of ideas within my Airtable base. And I'm just reviewing it, right? I'm looking at it and I'm just like, okay, like, how many content pieces am I creating throughout the month? I'm creating 4. Well, I'm going to choose 4 ideas from that library of ideas. And what I do is I look at it, I look at my notes, and then when I pick it, there's some ideas where I'm like, thank God I didn't continue with that because that didn't make sense. Or there are some ideas where I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. I'm glad I chose and put it in this library of ideas. And then I write on it, right? Because what you're doing is you're controlling your creativity, right? I don't like the idea personally of being at the whim of my creative brain. I like the idea of doing it 2 parts, being at the whim of my creative brain by writing the idea and satisfying it, but actually logical and taking the next step to either think about it and then decide if I want to move forward, right? Now, that's the first piece of creating a sustainable source for content creation, which is in the form of ideas. Now, when we think about consistency, right? This is kind of going back to that automated content piece of creating content once, right? So consistency, can come in the form of many different things, but we're just going to take it from the aspect of being consistent on different social media platforms. What I would say is be consistent with your long form content, right? So let's just go with that example of, blog articles or, me creating 4 ideas and moving forward with that. So what that looks like for me is that I have a long form content piece. I write 4 blog articles. And in order for me to be consistent on all these other platforms, I use and leverage automation to take advantage of that consistency, right? And that can look like using the tools called Zapier and Airtable and all these other, tech stacks. And so what I do with that at that point is I'll write my blog articles for the entire month. I created content once, and then I use AI and automation to take those content pieces and automatically repurpose it to many different platforms for me so that I can be consistent on other platforms without actually me having to be on those platforms. That's key, right? Because if you want to avoid burnout, focus on your strengths. Your strengths is probably the long form content. Your strength is probably not dancing on TikTok, right? Or at least it's not my strength, right? And so really leverage consistency through automation. Automation, I would say, is something that I don't see a lot of creators leverage or even use at all, but I 100% will say that it will save you so much time. And so we have our daily content generator that does that, but I highly recommend for you to start thinking about ways you can save yourself time and leverage your own time. So that's my answer for this question so far.
Okay, thank you so much. And also, like, speaking of automation, like, what is your process? Like, how do you, let's say you have written a blog article, how do you repurpose it later on? Do you have any
Yeah.
advice on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is just something I'm sharing with your audience, but we recently actually created something called our daily content generator, which I referenced here. And basically what that is, it's a automation workflow where basically it takes one piece of content and repurposes it to multiple different platforms automatically. But the idea behind how it works. So let's just get into what exactly it's doing. So I'll create a content piece, a long form content piece, right? My long form content piece is probably in an Airtable database. right? And so what that automation does is it will take that content, and since it's a workflow, I use Zapier as my workflow. And it will basically take that content, put it into AI. And what I mean by put it into AI is, I don't know why people don't talk about this a lot, but Zapier has this integration with ChatGPT. So, instead of you actually having to manually prompt it, you can actually just automate the prompts and the responses, right? And so, what I do is I take that content, put in the automation, and the automation will trigger, go through AI and say, hey, like I'll tell the AI and say, hey, create a Twitter thread for me from this blog article, create a social media caption for me from this blog article. And then I'll get the outputs. And then, since Zapier integrates with different social media channels, Twitter, YouTube, all those different types of things, I just let it do its thing. I integrate it and then it makes a post on my behalf, right? And that's pretty much the workflow. I don't do anything beyond that. Like literally, like my workflow is just create the content once and let the automations take care of it. So I hope that answers the question.
Thanks. Yeah, really interesting. So my next question is, so we talked about this in the beginning, but it's so easy for content creators and especially small business owners who also have other things to worry about to burn out while attempting to please the social media algorithm and yeah, just basically spend too much time on different platforms trying to be everywhere. So what is your advice, especially coming from someone who has experienced burnout as a content creator? So what do you usually say to people when they ask
Yeah.
us?
So I think there's an interesting aspect that people don't consider. Everybody, I feel like, loves to create content. It's a very creative career or aspect that you can do in your business. But one of the things that people don't think about is, why are you creating content to begin with? Right? There's kind of three areas that I like to think of when it comes to creating content. It's either to build your brand, to educate, or to sell. Right? So let's talk about building your brand. A lot of people focus a lot on building their brand in terms of just creating content just for the sake of creating content. But like if your goal is just to create content for likes, for followers, then I don't necessarily think that is a best use of your time personally, right? And so that's where we, go into the aspect of automating our content and letting the automations build the brand so that it can hit all those vanity metrics, right? But if your goal is to educate or to, let's just talk a little bit about selling, right? Then that is a very different set of activities, right? A very different way of creating content, right? So let's just go with the aspect of selling, because I know in some ways you want to make money from your content, right? So what I would do personally is I would let the automations take care of the branding in terms of going on social media and doing all those things, right? But when it comes to actually, making money, what the money that I've seen and that I've alluded to is actually in the form of email marketing, right? And so my call to actions for every single one of my content pieces is to join my email list, right? Because if I were, I'm able to do two things. First thing, I'm able to convert my audience from the social media platform to my own audience. And that is so critical, right? Because if a social media platform goes bye-bye, like you still have a way to contact them, right? The other layer of that is you're able to really take that, subscriber and being able to further nurture them through automated email sequences. You're able to sell to them to either, purchase an affiliate product of yours or a digital product of yours. And what that's allowing you to do is it's allowing you to take people off of social media and onto your list to continue the conversations, right? And so when we think about avoiding burnout, I think it's really important for you to think about the intention behind why you're doing things. If you're just doing things just because, I don't know, some guru tells you to do it, some guru tells you you need to be on this news platform, I would be very hesitant to just decide that you're going to do it because somebody else told you to do it. Like, I really want you to take ownership of your activities, take ownership of your time, right? I always think from the perspective of what is the highest return on time. A lot of people think about what's the highest return on investment, but I think time is the one asset you can never get back in life.
Hey guys, let me know if you can hear Tina or me, because I think we have some technical difficulties. Okay, let's just wait for Tina for a sec, and in the meantime, you can ask your questions, or if you have any Tilda related questions, you can ask them in the chat, and our manager or I can help you with anything you want. Okay. Oh, we have some questions from Instagram. Yeah, Tina will be back soon. Just stay tuned. And I'm just going to go through the comments that you put. Okay. Can we move to Tilda from Wix? I use it for website building and domain registration. Yes, yes, you can. You can move your website if you have a domain, and you can check out the article that our manager sent you. Okay. Okay, what else we have? Hello, yesterday I updated my website footer section, but I don't see the changes in the live website. Okay, Rifat, I think you can write to our support and send them the screenshot of your problem, and I think they will be ready to help you. So yeah, try that. And in the meantime, guys, just Tina is back, and I'm gonna put her on stage. Hi, Tina.
Hi.
Sorry,
Sorry
yeah,
about
we
that.
had some problems, but we read some questions from Instagram, so I'm prepared to
Nice.
ask you stuff
Yeah.
when we're done. Okay, so you can move on.
Yes.
And yeah,
Sorry about
go
that,
ahead.
guys. All right. So actually, that was just basically my nutshell is basically think about the content purpose on why you're doing things in your business and really focus on the activities that are going to help you reach there, right? If your goal is to build a brand, then automate your content creation and post on all those platforms. If your goal is to make income, then to really create content that has a call to action to join your email list so that you can further automate the selling from that point on. So that is my recap, and I'm sorry that I missed you guys, but I'm back, and I think we can move on to the next question.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, speaking of email marketing, like what tools and what strategies do you use to grow your mailing list and to then grow your business? Yeah, share
Yes.
your thoughts. And especially, sorry, especially, I think it would be really interesting for someone who is starting from scratch. So what would be your tips? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's ironic that you actually say starting from scratch because last year I did just that, right? And so I decided an experiment, which I don't know what was the best idea, but it was the idea that I went with. But for context, as the story goes, I have our Content Creators Club, which is our newsletter. And my previous email list had a whole list of individuals that were not content creators. And so what I decided to do was I started from zero. And that became a little bit of a challenge, right? Because I was like, if I start from zero, like, what am I going to do? Right. And so there's kind of two parts that I like to think about it. If you need a tool that I recommend that I use MailerLite. It's a really great free plan. I was on the free plan for years before I decided to actually pay for them. And I actually ended up paying them because my email subscriber count grew and went up from that point on. But when we think about strategy on how to grow your email list, there are different types of strategies. A lot of people say, go on social media, post your freebie link everywhere, or invest in paid ads. Now, that doesn't work. in my opinion, or it's very slow and a costly way for you to grow your email list, right? So when we think about, let's just talk a little bit about why social media doesn't work. Social media doesn't work if you're starting from scratch because you more than likely do not have an audience to begin with. If you don't have an audience to begin with, it's very hard for you to convert an audience to your email list, right? Because it just doesn't make sense. And I think a lot of, big gurus, they oversimplify it where I'm just like, that doesn't work, right? Now, the other layer you a lot of money for you to figure out what works and what doesn't work, right? So I don't necessarily go on the side of paid ads, but there is a strategy that I like to use that leverages the concept of paid ads. Let's talk about the concept of paid ads. The concept behind paid ads, it's essentially a pay to play way to leverage that platform's audience, right? That's what paid ads is in a nutshell, right? Well, why don't I take that same concept of leveraging another person's audience, but do it for free? And the way that you could do it for free is through the form of collaborations, but specifically collaborations at scale. Now, there's different strategies that you can choose to do, but my recommendation is either freebie swaps or bundles, right? So, freebie swaps, let's talk about what freebie swaps are. Let's look at the name, freebie swaps. What that means essentially is, say, for example, I'm partnering with Tilda and I want to, promote my freebie to their email list, but they also want to promote their freebie to my email list. So, what we're going to do is we're going to swap freebies. And what that means is essentially my freebie, which is my way to grow my email list, is going to get exposed to an audience size and to an audience demographic that is exactly my target audience. Tilda is also going to do the same thing. They're going to be able to contact my audience through my email list because I'm promoting a freebie on their behalf. And so what that does two things. It allows you to target the individual that you want to contact, right? But it allows you to also kind of take advantage of I don't know how to say this, but kind of take it advantage of, kind of the authority piece in the sense of like, if I'm recommending a product or a freebie, then and my audience like trusts me completely, then they're gonna be like, oh well, like if Tina's recommending this, then it's probably a good thing. I should probably know more information about it, right? So it allows you to be able to take advantage of another person's audience, but it also allows you to take advantage of, kind of the warmness that the other creator has been created for their container. So it makes it easier for you to kind of, connect and engage with those audience, individuals, right? Now, the other layer of this, or the other strategy is bundles, right? I think a lot of people don't really like leverage bundles, which I really think is like something that you should 100% do. But let's talk about what a bundle is. A bundle is essentially a whole gathering of resources, right? You've probably seen this before too, where, say, for example, there's an individual who's like, hey, like I'm promoting a bundle of all the resources that are for email marketing, right? And so basically the advantage of a bundle for the host is like saying like, hey, to their audience, if you were to get every single resource within this bundle, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars, right? But you can get access to every single one of these resources for one price. Let's just say it's $97 as an example, right? And so you kind of think to yourself, well, like how is that host getting all these resources, at such a low cost? Well, what they're doing on the back end is you have this bundle host, she's hosting the bundle. Then you have contributors. These are all the resources that are in that bundle, right? And so the advantage for a contributor, right? So say I'm a contributor. I'm giving away a free digital product of mine that I think is going to go really well. Let's just say my welcome email template that's going to go really well with this email marketing bundle. And let's just say I normally charge $9 for this email template, but I'm going to give this product away for free in this bundle. Well, the advantage and the incentive for me is that even though on the front end I'm giving away $9 per product that I could be selling, I'm getting so much more on the back end, right? Because, you know, as I promote the bundle and all the other contributors promote the bundle, we have this mass pool of audiences going to one specific bundle. It's a very large traffic in one container, right? And there's able to sign up for all the products for free, right? So what ends up happening, you'll see this on the back end, and I've definitely seen this. I've tested it for over a year, but you'll start seeing like these big, growth spurts of like people joining your email list via, through your free product that you contributed through the bundle in very mass loads amounts in a very short period of time. And an example of that is like, we're halfway through February. I've added over 250 email subscribers to my list because I contributed a product for free in my bundle. And 250 people raised their hand and said, hey, I want to get this product for free. And it was a very mass increase of subscriber growth. Now, this is why I want you to think about scale. I want you to also think about what you're gaining so much on the back end, right? I know, let's just use the example of 250 subscribers. If I gave, that product for $9 a piece and I gave it for free, like 9 times 250, I don't know the math right now, but like it's a lot of money that I'm losing out on the table on the front end, right? But what happens on the back end is that I'm getting an email that, wants to join my container, wants to hear more about me. And then what ends up happening from that point on is I can sell to them at a later point of time, right? So when we think about the value, the lifetime value of that subscriber, right? Maybe it cost me $9 in a free product. But what if later down the line, through my email automation, they end up buying a $97 product, a $100 product? They end up buying a one-on-one consultation with me, right? That's over $1,000 worth of, cash that I'm getting from that free subscriber or from that free product that I gave away. And I'm able to continue the conversation, to continue the engagement, right? And that's all through the form of collaborations, right? Now, if you need a couple of resources on how to find bundles, there's this really great Facebook group called Bundles by Bundles by Brie Brochard or something like that. Or if you, need a way for people to find, partners, freebie swaps, things like that, then I recommend this tool or this platform called Letter Growth. But we also talk a lot about it in my audience profits course, but I just want you to know that there's ways for you to grow your email list, even if you are truly starting from scratch. And if you're starting from scratch, the highest leverage way for you to do that in a very short period of time is truly through collaborations. So that's my answer so far.
Yeah, thank you so much. And could you talk a bit more about your welcome email template?
Yeah.
Because we already shared it in the chat. So please tell us more about it and what our audience is going to get
Yes.
inside.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad you guys got that. So basically, I know how difficult it is to start an email list, but I also know that there's that other layer of like, okay, I got all these email subscribers. What the heck do I say to them? Right. And so this is where my welcome email template is going to be really handy for you. I actually, sell that email template for $9, but because you guys are joining this webinar, I'd really love to give you guys the opportunity to get it for free. Use the coupon code podcast24. And so essentially with that, you're going to know exactly what to say to your email, subscriber when they join. You're going to welcome them. But it's also going to allow you to really filter your audience in terms of you're going to tell them like, hey, what are the expectations of joining the email list? What are the things that they can expect from you? What are the things that you expect from them, right? Because I think a lot of people, just don't necessarily take the time to set expectations from the very beginning. And so I always tell people like, hey, these are the expectations when you join my email list. You can expect free products every now and then. That's going to be a thank you gift for you. You're also going to expect, some promotions. I'm going to promote an affiliate product. I'm going to promote a digital product because I need to make money, right? And I'm very upfront about that. And so I've noticed the more transparent you are and you just let them know with a great welcome email template, which you guys can get for free, then you are able to really set the expectations early on, but you're also allowed to but I 100% would say like it's not a bad thing if they unsubscribe. If actually it's a good thing because as you grow your email list, you're gonna have to pay for people, right? And if you're gonna pay for subscribers, you want to pay for subscribers that actually want to be in your container. So I really use that welcome email template. I use it in my own, newsletter. So if you sign up, you'll get that. And I think it's gonna be really helpful for you. So I just want to give that as a gift.
Okay, thank you so much. Guys, make sure to check it out in the chat, and we will also leave it down in the description after if you're watching this in the recording. Okay, so I have a question from Instagram, and it reads, how do you go about getting validation that your content creation efforts aren't wasted, but are paying off? I think it's especially a relevant question for someone who's starting out, where you have to invest a lot of time and effort
Mhm.
into creating content while you don't have the audience yet. So, what would you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, so this is actually bringing me back to like 2 years ago when I was exactly in that position, right? When you are starting from scratch and you're just thinking to yourself like, "Oh my god, like I have so much content to create," right? And so, let's talk a little bit about the validation piece, right? I think the one thing you need to consider is that it's a slow growth. Being a content creator is not something that is just overnight. Yes, you see all these stories on TikTok where like they get hundreds and millions of subscribers overnight, but like I think that's a false expectation, right? I think what's really important for, maybe you to consider is like, why are you doing this, right? What is the purpose, right? There needs to be a deeper purpose, in my opinion, than just to make money, right? My purpose in life personally is to do two things: to help people create generational wealth through business. And the second piece is to help people have the time to enjoy that wealth, right? And so if you're creating content, I think it's important for you to really love the content that you're creating and validate it yourself. Don't look at the vanity metrics. Just try this exercise. I do this exercise. Whenever I'm starting something, I have to do it for at least a year, right? And that is a very, strong pill to swallow. If you cannot see yourself doing this for at least a year, imagine you didn't get any money, you didn't get any vanity metrics, anything like that, and you say to yourself, I still want to do it, then that's your own validation that you should continue moving forward. If the answer is no, then move on to something else. So I like to keep it real, I like to keep it honest, and that's how I see it.
All right, thanks. So, another question is, it's more on a not really content marketing related, but how do you realize you have burnout and not just laziness, tiredness, or exhaustion?
Oh, dang, that's actually a really good question. How do you realize you have burnout? I think there's this layer of like, let's talk about, this kind of goes into the previous question of like, if you were to do it for a year and you didn't get anything, do you still love what you do? An example, I burned out twice in my business actually. And so the first time, let's talk about the first time. I realized I was burnout when things were not going the way that they were wanting. I didn't make any money and I just realized to myself like I don't like this anymore. I just like I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And I really want to honor, the aspect of like if you are exhausted and if you are tired, like listen to your body cuz your body will tell you more than anyone else will tell you. I had to be on like 5 calls with coaches and until one of them said like, "Tina, like you need to stop," right? And so if you don't have that person to tell you to stop, your body is the first, conclusion that's going to help you get there. And one thing I would say is that burnout is a slow creep. It really is, but you'll notice it find joy. If you wake up to yourself and you wake up and you're like, God, this feels like more of a task than something that I'm actually excited to do. Now, I know there's things in your business that you're not going to love to do, right? Which is a different topic, but really go down to like, am I fulfilling my mission? Are you fulfilling your mission? And if you're not, then maybe it's not just burnout. It's just like you need to pivot, right? And burnout is not a bad thing. Burnout, in my opinion, every time I've experienced burnout, I pivoted because I know that this is something that I don't want to do. And it's not laziness either, right? Burnout is more of an intense form of exhaustion. And don't make yourself feel guilty because you're exhausted. Allow yourself to rest and allow yourself to honor that rest. Um, and it took me like a couple months, honestly, from that point on, my first experience. It took me 4 months. I was on a sabbatical. I closed shop and I said, I can't do this anymore. And now I think for me in my content business, I realize like I can never be in that phase because it's a very dark phase in my life. But also like you got to build a business that allows you to take rest. If you have a business that requires you to be there every single step of the way, then I would really challenge the model that you have to begin with. Oh, I can't hear you.
I wanted to thank you for your answer. And I think we have a little bit of time to review some of the features that will help you make your life easier as a content creator and also follow Tina's advice. So the first feature is Tilda Fits. And so Tina talked about automation and scheduling your content and creating just one piece of content and then repurposing it. And I think our feature with Tilda Fits is perfect for that. So let me just quickly switch on to the editor and I will show you how to set up your blog. Okay. Here we are. So here we are on a dashboard. And to create a feed, you would go about this way. So you start your website, say you're creating just a website for your business. You type in my website, and then you create the page. So once you have created the page, you are presented with all types of templates, and we have templates for business accounts, for your business. You can create an online store. You can create a link in bio for your Instagram page. You can create a website or a landing page for your event, and there are blocks. So just because we are talking about blocks right now, I'm going to go and create a new block. Let me quickly choose the template. Okay. I like this one. I will just create a corporate block because I'm quite boring. So you can click on preview and then you can create the page. So now you're inside the page editor. And how do you go about creating a feed? Now, so I would go about this like this. So I click on plus and I am inside the block library. Then I scroll all the way down. I go to news and feeds. And here you can add any type of feed you like. There are a couple of different templates and you can choose the design you like. I like this one. And here you're presented with a pre-designed version. These are some pre-made blog posts just to showcase how the blog works. So then you go to Content tab, and here you see the example feed. So you would need to create your own feed here. And you go to feeds, like it says here. You open the new tab, and you connect the feeds to your website. Okay, click accept, and you are inside the feeds tab. You type in my blog or anything you want, honestly, and go inside. So this is how it looks like and what it does actually. So you would need to update your blog quite often. And in order to avoid doing it all manually through the page editor, so you don't really have to touch your main page of the website. It will do it automatically for you. It will also post schedule posts and all kinds of stuff that you would put inside the feeds. It will be connected to your blog, to feeds blog here. And once you publish it, you can have your blog and you would only need to update it here inside the feeds. So let me create the first post. I would say just because we have a content marketing webinar, I will create a blog post on that. Okay. And you are inside. So here you have different types of elements. You can add text, heading, image, video, quote, and what's more important, you can also scroll down and edit your ACO settings. So you can adjust it for, you can adjust the thumbnail, author's name, you can add Facebook title, and basically have control over how your blog post looks on in the search engines. So you can upload the image and create the SEO description, keywords, and it's very handy because you don't have to worry about SEO on your website. You can do it here and not worry about it later. So let's say I am creating a heading with my webinar announcement. Okay. And here I write, welcome to my webinar. Okay. And I will not do much here. I will click on save and close. Oh, by the way, one important thing, if you want to schedule your post, you have to set the date somewhere in the future. So I click on 29th of February and I will click on 8 p.m. Ready? I'm going to publish my posts, and these are just pre-made posts that you can hide. You can hide the visibility or you can delete it. It's quite easy. You can also add categories. And just so we schedule the post, and then we go back to our editor and we click on the content bar, content tab. And here you can connect your blog. Easy like that. So here we have our little blog, and you can see here that the schedule post appears here. So this is one thing to keep in mind when you schedule posts on Tilda Feeds. You have to go to settings and then you have to click on show and due date. So the post will be shown only when you have scheduled it. Okay, then you click on publish the page and you're ready. Okay, so this is on our Tilda feeds. And now let's go to another feature that we have, and it's email campaign builder. So Tina talked about email marketing a lot, and Tilda actually offers you to create email campaigns. So to access it, you would need to go to your dashboard, back again. Okay, and here you click on Start Email Campaign. And I will just name it my newsletter. Okay, create. And here you have the similar page editor and the same, pretty much the same look and templates as you would have inside the website builder. But this is a email builder. So you can see there are many types of templates you can choose. You can choose some for business newsletter, for event invitation, case studies, for sales if you have an online shop and you want to write a last chance email. And just because, again, we have webinar today, I will quickly create an email. Okay, and you create, and you're inside the page editor again. You can basically adjust anything you like. You have pretty much the same block library. It's a little bit smaller because it's designed for emails, but you can still access blocks. And if you don't like something in a template, you can adjust it just the way you like. You can add, for example, more buttons or more pictures inside it. Or you can add, let's say you want to have a blog preview, you can do it all inside the email campaign builder. Okay, then you click publish, and here you can copy the code and send it to your email delivering service, or you can connect your email to email services like SendGrid, Mailchimp, Unisender. Let's say you have a Mailchimp connected, so you click connect, and here you just log in and you can send your email the to the service, and it will do all of the rest of sending for you. Okay. Also, one thing you can do is to publish your page like that, just as a web version. So it's quite handy because you can repurpose, like you can automatically repurpose your content, because you not only are able to send your email directly to the email box of your audience, but you can also publish it as a separate page on your website. Let's say you create a blog post and you can send it as an email, and you can also publish it as a page and include it on your website. So I think it's quite handy if you don't want to spend time in, again, rewriting everything on a separate page. You can just publish the page and give a link. Also, it helps you improve the SEO because you can also adjust all the settings and the search engines would rank you higher. Okay, so that is on our features. And let me quickly go back to my presentation. Okay, let me check if we have any more questions. Okay. Can we direct people? They click. So, Luluk, I think what you mean is, yes, you can definitely create all kinds of CTAs using Tilda, and you can link pretty much anything, any service, any third-party service that you're using. So, but if you have a particular question, you can also contact our support, and they will be happy to help you. Okay, so just to remind you, if you subscribe to our newsletter, you can try Tilda in action for 3 months instead of just 1 month that we have available for our normal users who sign up for Tilda. So remember, go and subscribe and receive this recording as well as our subscription plan. And thank you so much, Tina. I'm adding you back on stage. Thank you so much for coming to today's webinar, and thank you for your insights and knowledge. I'm sure many of you found it interesting, and I personally advise you all to follow Tina on Medium because she's so consistent there, and her posts they're super concise, but you find them so inspiring. So definitely check that out. And yeah, if you have any more questions about our platform, feel free to contact support or check out our help center. Okay, Tina, do you have anything to say to us when we...
Yeah, I just want to
Okay.
say thank you guys so much for having me, listening to me talk for this past hour. I appreciate your time, and I just really want to say thank you. And if you ever want to hang out with me more, definitely check out Content Creators Club. But if you also get that welcome email template, make sure to use podcast24 as the coupon code, and I can send you guys that email template your way. But thank you guys, everyone, for coming.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Bye-bye. And thank you guys for coming to today's webinar. I hope you found it useful and you will use the advice and the feature that we provide you in your own work. And I wish you all a great evening or a great day ahead. Yeah, bye.